everybody, this is Christy from Christy's Beautiful Life, and today my process video is a fun one for me because it is talking about how Sean and I decided on naming our son Jaxon. So kind of a really fun story because I think it's really important that your children know how their names came to be. So that's what it's about. It is also for the Victoria Marie Facebook group weekend challenge from last weekend, which was the first weekend in June. It was hosted by Kelly, who is one of the design team members for the summer and the fall design team for her Facebook group. And Kelly asked that we use up some die cuts. And she said use up a package of die cuts, but the way, like, you weren't supposed to use a brand new one. The way I store my die cuts, though, is not by the manufacturer or anything like that. I have them in a bunch of different really cool white bowls. I have one that's just all hearts, one that's just all like stars and arrows and neat things like that. And so I don't store them the way a lot of people do. So instead of just using up one certain package, I went through all of my die cuts and picked out things that I thought would work well with a baby layout without screaming baby, with the exception of one piece of chipboard sticker that actually says the word baby. So that's the only bit that, besides the fact that I'm very obviously pregnant in the picture, but the baby is the only part that shows that it is about a baby. So anyways, enough of that tangent. So the story is talking about how he came up with his name, and it's kind of a fun story. I knew Jaxon was going to be a boy about a month after I was pregnant. I had had a dream about it, of this little boy with really curly hair, about 2 years old. I woke up the next morning and I was like, well, that's it. We're definitely having a boy. I knew right away. So when we did get to find out later on in pregnancy, I was absolutely not surprised. Like, they didn't even need to tell me. I just knew. But with it being confirmed, I'm like, oh, yay, we get to pick the name. So Sean and I were watching TV one day, and I was just like, I can't take it anymore. We have to decide on a name. And I'm not even that. I mean, you can find out what the sex is, I think, in your second trimester. So I'm not even sure I was even into third trimester yet. And I'm like, we have to pick a name. We just have to. So we shut the TV off, and we kind of started to talk about it. My first choice for a name was going to be Eric with the German spelling. So it would be E-R-I-C-K. And I really liked that, and that was kind of my go-to name. But Sean decided that he knew a couple Erics, and it wasn't unique enough, and he just would prefer not to use it. So I said, okay, obviously I'm not going to force you to name our child something you don't want it to be named. So we scratched Eric and decided to talk about it a little bit more. My next option was to go with the name Jack, and Sean says, okay, we can work with this. So he said he didn't want to do Jack, but we could do Jaxon, with the spelling being a little bit different. So instead of the normal Jackson, we did Jaxon with an X, so Jaxon. And I was like, oh, I like that. That works really well. And so we agreed upon that in about all of 2 minutes. Like, it was pretty fast once we're like, okay, let's work with Jack. The name just came, and it was really easy. And I have to tell you that I did not realize that the name Jaxon is based off of a character from the TV show Sons of Anarchy. We didn't even watch that show at the time. We've now seen it, but at the time we didn't. So I have to tell you, his name is not after that, because I've had a bunch of people ask me that. We did not name him after some crazy motorcycle guy. As for his middle name, we decided to use one of our parents or our grandparents, something that had a tie back to our family. So we knew we were going to do that right away. And with the state of health that my grandpa was in at the time, he was kind of slowly aging faster than the rest. And he had a stroke a few years ago, and he just wasn't doing very well. So we decided it'd be really nice that while he was still lucid and could appreciate what we were doing, to name him after that. And my grandpa has about 5 different names to him. So we chose James because as Jaxon gets older, we can call him JJ. So his name is Jaxon James. And the really neat thing about that is that my grandpa now had his son, his another one of his grandchildren, and then his grandchild have all been a name from his full name used in recognition. So I thought that was really cool, and I know it meant a lot to him. So it was really cool. So that is how Jaxon James, his name, came to be. Kind of a fun story, right? But enough about the photo and the story behind it. Let's get to the layout. So you have been watching me decide where the little bits and pieces are gonna go, and what you see now is basically exactly the way that it ends up being. I do decide to hang it all off of a string, and I don't know if you see me actually do that or if it just magically happens, but I did decide to use that, and I use a few little those things that you use to hang laundry that are not coming to me right now. Oh my goodness, clothespins. Those little mini clothespins, I use those as well. And the pattern paper is from Bo Bunny, and the collection is called Baby Bump, which is what made me choose this photo. I had been going back and forth between this photo and a photo of Sean and myself on our first Christmas, and I just kept going back and forth. But once I knew the name of this pattern paper, I was like, well, that's the decision made. Super easy. I do add a little bit of washi on the layout, and what I am doing is, putting one strip on the really pretty heart pattern paper, and then another strip on the floral paper. And why I'm doing that is I didn't tape that part of the floral paper down so that I could hide my journaling in there. And it's not that story isn't needing to be hidden. I just didn't, aesthetically, I didn't want to have a whole bunch of journaling on the layout. And what you're seeing now is really fun, and I was really proud of myself for using up this piece of packaging. It is from the On Trend collection, and the packaging has gold foil around the edges. So I just trim it up and then tape it to the back of my photo to frame my photo in gold. And I was so proud of myself for that, for being able to use up packaging. And then I also end up using some vellum as well, and that just made the picture stand out. You're also seeing me use a tiny, tiny bit of ink and doing a bit of splatters, and I simply just put the cracked pistachio from the Distressed Ink from Tim Holtz. That is on the green paper, and then I use Heidi Swap the gold lame onto the floral paper. And I just did that just so there's a little tiny bit there, but not a whole lot. And I also am showing you where the journaling is going to go. So that's where I did my hidden journaling. But what I do is I put the photo down and then I rework all of my little bits of embellishment so that those tiny little specks of gold do come through. Because I put my photo on gold, right? And so I just needed that little bit to be there. And then the third piece of gold, because you always want everything in threes, right, is hiding. You just can't see it at the moment, but at the bottom of my page, I do this little tiny cluster with a tab and then a little circle, or a little circle with a heart in the middle of it, and that is gold foil. So that was where I put that third piece of gold into my layout. So here you are seeing me use the string to just get everything put where I want it to be. And I just kind of loop it around. I put everything down. I do a bit of journaling at the top, and all it says is, picking out your name was my favorite part of pregnancy, and I just pray that you enjoy your name as much as we enjoyed being able to pick it out. So really simple journaling. Really, if someone's just flipping through my scrapbook, it works perfectly. They get the gist of the layout. But if someone's interested and wants to know more, they can then pick out that project life card, read the whole story, and it's to whatever they'd like to do. And you guys, that's my layout. You're just seeing me do the little bits of the end, and it'll all be done. I want to thank everyone so much for watching. I always appreciate the time you take to watch videos. There's so many choices, so the fact that you've decided to watch mine is really special. And I will be back really soon with another process video. There's a photo coming up. I'll talk to everyone soon. Bye.